Hey, welcome to the podcast. This is the surge effect of this podcast. Man, it'll probably have an effect on you. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of the Surge Effect. Today's episode, we are going to be talking about Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. Kind of differences in them both, and what's been going on in the news cycle with them the last week. Okay, we're going to be talking a little bit about, of course, immigration and all that fun stuff. So buckle up, because here we go. All right, so first off, I'm going to show you just a little clip here about his accomplishments so far. You know, they do in the States, for the 100 days. Well, here's his 100 days right here. Accomplishments in the last 100 days. No annual budget, no new trade deals, no deals with America, no crackdown on our crime here in Canada, no fast-tracked projects, and projected $92 billion deficit, and over 100 conflicts of interests. So, sounds like a failure to me so far. So here's another one of the liberal lies. Last year, the liberals promised that they would cap foreign workers at 82,000 per year. The truth is, the liberals have let in 105,000 foreign workers, in the first 6 months of 2025. Here is that exact same little picture I showed you, and here is a person going on a bit of a rant about it.
Perfect. That makes sense, right? Yeah. 82,000, my ass. I don't know if you guys have seen lately, but over 100,000 foreign workers in the first 6 months. So I guess my question to you and those people who voted to continually crumble the country and nation so many of us work so hard daily to have, functioning, and somehow still can't stop living paycheck to paycheck. My question is, how much more? How many more are you going to tolerate? And don't tell me, well, he lied to us. Yeah, we told you he was lying to you. Yeah, we told you he was full of shit. We told you he didn't know how to run a government. And now we have so many people in this country that are not only just here and sucking up resources, but are the reason why you can't get a doctor. They are the reason why you can't get loans, because the banks are concerned about the finances. It is the reason why you are being replaced.
So that was an interesting take on her part. But of course, it's all over the internet, all over it, right? 2025 temporary foreign workers, their target was 82,000. Once again, we let in 105,000 in 6 months. So here's from the National Post. This was just the other day. Nearly half of Canadians favor mass deportation, and 65% think that there are too many immigrants. That was a poll taken just the other day, and that was released on National Post. Tyler Dawson dropped that. Now, on the news part of it, like CTV, CBC, Global, and C News, they always like to use these little catchwords, right? So they use terms like Brampton man, Toronto resident, or Mississauga man, Ottawa man, Ontario driver, male driver, man charged, two offenders, instead of using the word migrant. But now the new catchword is newcomer. That's the big word now they use down in the States, and now it's drifted up here into Canada, so they use the word newcomer. Look at this graph. Gives you an idea. It's just off the chain since 1950. To 2023. I've showed this graph before in previous podcasts. And this one here, it goes from 1950 to 2023. And you can see that spike at the end there. That's, of course, the Liberals. They continue it. Carney's continuing where Trudeau left off. It just goes through the roof, right? So to give you an idea, this is the crime rate in Ontario and in Canada right now because of the overpopulation of immigration. Look at what they did just the other day in the Ontario liquor store. Their faces are like right on the video. They're just loading it. Let's loading up like a hockey bag. Just loading it up. Yeah, there's his face. There's security there saying, "Hey, you know you're on live TV, eh, boys?" And off they go. Yeah, they're good with it. Just literally cases, just stuffed full. Here's the kind of like the same kind of thing going on with the crew. I'm not going to show you too much of this, but a Good Samaritan tried to stop them, and one of them pulled a knife, a big knife, and chased them out of the store. The guy chased them out of the store. So here's another one that just transpired literally just the other day in Toronto, and they were robbing a jewelry store.
Are you kidding me again?
St. People's. People's jewelry store. Look at the crime.
What a shame.
The crime is just rampant. It's out of control. Absolutely out of control. So here's another little clip here of newcomer in a truck driving the wrong way. So people are going around him. See? Right here in Ontario. Here's another clip here of people blocking the traffic because they want to get down the road and pray, I guess. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but my thoughts are, in this country, we don't block traffic because it's against the law. Canadians don't block traffic because it's against the law. All right? Okay, but for some reason they think they can do it, and they get away with it. That's maybe why, because the crime is just out of control and no one steps up to fix it. So here's a clip of Mark Carney. He's answering some questions. He's trying to. This guy is one of the best evaders of questions I've ever seen in my life. But here we go.
Prime Minister, just one question about raw materials. Could you please explore a bit more what Canada can realistically actually offer to Germany and Europe, given the fact that ports on the East Coast and also pipelines are still lacking?
Okay, you're welcome to take the second part of that, my question, if you wish. Thanks for the question. Look, there's a huge range of immediate opportunities with respect to critical metals and minerals, and there are medium-term opportunities with respect to all forms of energy, including LNG and hydrogen. And I'll quickly explain how we make those happen. Our government is in the process of unleashing $500 billion of investment in energy infrastructure, port infrastructure, particularly intelligence infrastructure as well, with AI. And a number of those investments, the first of which we will be formally announcing in the next 2 weeks, are with respect to new port infrastructure. And some of the examples in the public domain will include from reinforcing and building on the Port of Montreal, Contrecoeur, a new port effectively in Churchill, Manitoba, which would open up enormous LNG plus other opportunities, and other East Coast ports for those critical metals and minerals. So there is a lot happening. It's the number one focus of this government is to build that infrastructure, and particularly infrastructure that helps us deepen our partnership with our European partners, and particularly Germany.
That's from Rebel News, of course, and he was saying in particular with Germany. So this was just dropped literally just the other day as well. This is right from the Bank of Canada, right from the Government of Canada website. Right here, it's talking about that a joint declaration of intent between Canada and Germany on critical minerals cooperation. At the bottom there, it says, and I have highlighted, it says, this JDI is not legally binding and does not create any financial commitment. That was stated August 26, 2045, Berlin, Germany, Natural Resources Canada. Okay. So it's not a financial commitment. This is just something that they're trying to get going. Okay. Here's a little, here's the ambassador, almost laughs. This is the ambassador to Canada from Poland about the LNG.
Economy. You might remember our former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau kind of famously said there was no business case to sell Canadian LNG to Europe. Well, when you look at what the Americans are doing, they sent 44 million tons of LNG to Europe last year. They're obviously seeing a business case for what they're producing. Is Poland interested in Canada's natural resources and LNG in particular? Is that something that you would like to see advance as these two countries get closer together?
Yeah. Well, remember, some of that LNG that is coming from United States to Europe, to Poland, is also Canadian LNG.
See him smiling as he's saying it?
But it's being sold for a much higher price, I would say, than when it would come from Canada. Yes.
Yeah, so what he's saying there is Canada, we sell our what we can sell for LNG to the United States, then the United States sells it to Poland at a very inflated price, whereas Poland could just buy it right from Canada.
We are constantly interested. We would like the Canadian LNG market to open to Europe. We would like to see the Canadian gas flowing to the east coast on Canada, and the Canadian gas flowing in European pipelines. This is, one of the energy topics that we are working on with Canadians for a number of years. There are others which are also very significant, and we are much more successful in the other areas than gas so far. But if you're able to make a push in that regard, that will be to the benefit of Europe, and that will be to the benefit of Canada.
There you go. See, but unfortunately, the Liberal government, they won't allow that to happen, right? They just won't, because of Bill C-69. They won't open it up at all. So here's Carney. He's answering some more questions. This little clip is from Mark Nixon, but it's all over the net. So check it out.
Just to clear up, this morning it seemed like you were saying that those two projects, Churchill and Cote-Curl, would be on the list of approved. So I don't know if you could clear that up.
C'était en français ce matin. Hein? C'est une question de traduction de quelqu'un. C'est pas évident. OK?
Also,
c'est possibilité. J'ai dit c'est une possibilité, une des premières.
Also asking for, hoping to get some clarity on your government's position on trade with the United States.
Sure.
Following your Friday announcement. So this morning you talked about how you're seeking areas of cooperation in 5 areas. You listed critical minerals, autos, steel, aluminum, copper. What does that cooperation look like, and how is that different from what your government was trying to achieve ahead of that August 1st deadline?
So just to be, the way I'd frame it, Mr. Curry, is this way, which is that, again, what I was saying in, c'était en français ce matin également, right? It was in French. So what I said was 85% of our trade is free trade. At present, we have the best deal, et cetera. You know that point. There are 5 areas where that is not the case, and that those are in strategic sectors for the Americans, aluminum.
He just talks nonsense. They ask him a question about something, and it just seems to be nonsensical. It just doesn't make any sense at all. But at the start, when he was talking about, the reporter asked him a question about opening up Churchill. This is what Pierre Poilievre has been asking for since August 2020, right there. As part of a plan to end overseas oil within 5 years, Pierre Poilievre's government will provide fast approvals to allow the Port of Churchill to export responsibility produced Canadian energy and create more paychecks for our people. See, Pierre Poilievre is about us, all about us. And then, of course, in 2025, Globe and Mail is saying that new port facilities in Churchill, Manitoba, plus an expansion in the Port of Montreal are among the first major infrastructure projects Ottawa will support, Prime Minister Mark Carney said on Tuesday, and that was August 2025. So literally 3 years later. And of course, Liberals are taking on the exact same thing that Pierre Poilievre talked about 3 years ago. See how this works? Here is a little clip on CBC, and they're talking about Mark Carney.
Been there.
Yeah, no one is saying it is not complex, but the Prime Minister campaigned and won an election on being the guy to get a deal done, being the one to negotiate with Trump. That is how he positioned himself in the election campaign. So we are now a quarter in to this mandate, and Canadians do not have anything to show in terms of a trade agreement. So the government has indexed heavily to showing progress on international trade and on the Canada-US relationship. There's nothing there to show. Meanwhile, they've left themselves exposed on domestic policy. We're nowhere on housing, crime, immigration, affordability. So unless you're going to deliver on the former to try and offset the latter, then you find yourself empty-handed in both instances. And so I think, to your question, when does the Prime Minister need to show progress? I would say if there's not significant progress on Canada-US trade and some of these international deals with tangible commitments, not just commitments to commit in the future and MOUs, by the end of this year, I think Canadians are really going to be wondering what it is that they voted for back in the spring.
Exactly. So here is a Liberal minister, and he's talking about LNG. See, for some reason, Liberals do not want to supply the world with our LNG here from Canada, which would make us just filthy rich.
I think there was a view prior to a few years ago that the need for natural gas would be relatively minor and relatively short term. And I think what we all realize post the Ukraine, post what's happening with AI, that natural gas is going to be a transition fuel that's in greater demand in Germany and for a longer period of time. Canada has the opportunity to be a great partner to Germany in that regard. What has changed is, as of June, Canada started shipping its first LNG shipments. We have the enviable situation of producing the lowest carbon footprint natural gas of any country in the world. It's because of the way we liquefy the natural gas. We do it with clean energy. And so that's a tremendous opportunity to work together with Germany to deal with the energy transition Germany has and supply a great product that's low in carbon and produced in conjunction with First.
This whole carbon thing is a scam. If no one realizes it, please check in on it, because it is. One of the biggest scams pulled over the eyes of mankind. And they do that in the guise of taxing you more and more and more. That's just the way it works. Speaking of taxation, here's Carney. He's wanting to put more money on flying. Flying. Here we go.
But should we be flying less now?
We should be taking into account the impact of our flying on the planet now. And that's
pushing up the tax on flying.
You push up the tax on flying, you push up the cost on transport, and that's in part what putting a price on carbon is.
This is what globalists want to do. They want to tax you to death. They want to tax you so much. They want to tax you so much that you're unable to, put food on the table. He just did 9 trips all over the place, all over Europe and everything else in his plane, but that's okay. Just see how it works. He also just gave another $2 billion in aid to the Ukraine on top of the $20 billion that he gave to the Ukraine. and went over and had a visit, of course, with Vladimir Zelensky. And this is what's happening in Vancouver right now. I'm not going to play the background music, but I'll show you the homelessness. This is in Vancouver. They're sleeping on the streets. They're like drugged out. They're just, they've taken too much fun candy, right? Fun candy and happy juice, what have you. They're like all over the roads. And this is in Vancouver. But we don't have any money to help our own citizens here in Canada. We like to give money to the Ukraine. Like I said, to the tune of over $20 billion. So here's a little clip of Mark Carney talking about Canadian values being, the same as Muslim values. Don't take my word for it. This is what he said.
Come together, all of us must come together around the values of Eid. The values of community, of generosity, and yes, of sacrifice. These are Muslim values. These are Canadian values.
Well, I don't know about you, but I believe that people that come to this country need to take on Canadian values, and they need to take on our way of life. They need to embrace Canada. And people that don't, if they start waving another flag or they start, doing things in the street and going against Canada, well, then why did they come here in the first place? That's kind of my way of thinking. But on the flip side of Mark Carney, like I said at the start of the podcast, I'm going to talk a little bit about Pierre Poilievre. This is one of the neatest things about Pierre Poilievre is when he wasn't even the opposition leader. He was just looking after our finances here in Canada. And this is a back and forth between him and Mark Carney. That's probably why Mark Carney doesn't like him very much, is because of this grilling by Pierre Poilievre in regards to, you guessed it, pipelines. Here we go.
Do you support the Prime Minister's decision to veto the Northern Gateway pipeline, Mr. Carney?
I understand the veto of the Northern Gateway pipeline.
You support it?
Given both environmental and commercial reasons.
Do you support it?
I think it was sensible. I wasn't involved in the decision, but I think it was the right decision.
And yet your company has invested billions of dollars in oil companies in both Brazil and the UAE to buy pipelines. You bought billions of dollars of pipelines as a company in the last 5 years. Do you support those investments?
Mr. Poilievre, there is a global energy system, and one of the issues, I'm trying to explain a bit of how the economy works. One of the
Thank
issues,
you so much.
It may help. One of the issues for this committee in thinking about a sustainable transition.
Do you support it?
Where is Canada's role in those as energy transitions from fossil fuels to renewables? And in different jurisdictions, into different geography, it matters. It matters, and this is a fundamental point.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. This is
what you're saying is you oppose pipelines in Canada, but you support them in the UAE and in Brazil. That's what you've actually said.
There are specific.
That's your double standard.
It is not a double standard.
It is a double standard.
No, it's not.
You make billions of dollars off foreign pipelines, and you shut them down here at home, putting our people out of work.
That's exactly what he did. Shut down the pipelines here in Canada, put Canadians out of work, and then with his company Brookfield, put in billions of dollars worth of pipelines in UAE and other parts of the world, in Brazil and what have you. That's what he's all about. I love that back and forth. So here is, once again, Pierre Poilievre talking about Carney.
Not one pipeline has been identified, not one LNG plant, not one nuclear plant, not one hydroelectricity dam, not one major project has been identified, let alone approved in the 160 days since he took office. And all of the anti-resource laws that will make them impossible to complete remain in place. On housing, he said he'd double home building. His housing agency says home building will drop by 13% over the next 2 years. And the housing crisis has tripled in its different directions. Under Trudeau, it was just that they were too expensive for anyone to buy. Now, it's too costly for builders to build, buyers to buy, or sellers to sell. An almost impossible triumvirate of failure in housing hell that only a Liberal Prime Minister could have accomplished. He said he would invest more and spend less. Well, look at the numbers. Spending is up 8% under Mr. Carney, and it looks like the deficit will be twice the one that Trudeau left behind. Though we don't know because Mr. Carney, the genius banker, still hasn't introduced a budget. And then there is the investment side, down $60 billion in what the Financial Times says the single biggest net outflow of investment in any 5-month period. That is Mr. Carney's track record on investment. He is spending more and investing less.
Spending more and investing less. That sound like a good leader of a country? Spend more, invest less. I don't know about you, but I don't believe it is. Just the other day, this week, there was a fellow in Lindsay here in Ontario. House was broken into. There was two of his assailants two of his friends were outside the window. The actual guy actually broke into this guy's apartment through his daughter's bedroom window. His daughter was not home at the time. The homeowner grabbed his phone and he was trying to dial 911, of course, and the intruder saw the light and he had a crossbow. And I guess he he hit this dude with a crossbow. Well, then the guy picked up a little pointy thing, and this guy, the intruder, ended up in the hospital. So the home invader that invaded this guy's personal space ended up in the hospital because the homeowner protected himself. Now, the guy protected himself. He's up on charges because he protected himself. Because here in Canada, everyone says you can't protect yourself. Well, because we don't have like a castle law like they do down in the States, right? And some of my American friends understand what I'm talking about. And maybe people who pay attention to their laws understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, this is what Pierre Poilievre had to say in regards to that law.
The law needs to be clear that if someone comes into your house uninvited to steal your property or harm your family, you need to be able to do whatever is necessary to stop them. And my message to the criminal thugs who are invading the homes of Canadians in unprecedented numbers because of Liberal laws is that you should be in serious danger if you go into someone's house illegally and try to harm them. If you don't want to be harmed, then don't invade someone's house and don't threaten their security. The law needs to be very clear that people have the right to defend their homes and their families against lawbreakers.
Simple. Everyone that owns a home or owns any property and someone breaks into your space where your wife and your children sleep, well, need I say more? All right, so Pierre Poilievre, he has been speaking about LNG and releasing our energy, unleashing our energy's power to the world and selling it and making Canadians rich. He's been doing this for years. This is about 3 years ago he's talking about this. So here we go.
So in addition to stopping the money printing, we have to start creating the stuff that money buys. And that means removing the gatekeepers that hold back our economy, the gatekeepers that have blocked us from producing clean, responsible Canadian oil and gas in this country, right?
That's exactly right. Clean oil and gas. He's been saying that for years, and this will make Canada very, very wealthy. Now, this is Pierre Poilievre. He was just talking about this today. Once again, talking about energy. You know why? Because energy is the key to making Canada wealthy, not poor. For some reason, the Liberals want Canadians to be poor. I don't understand it. But this is what they're doing. They need to unleash Bill C-69. Unleash it. Here we go.
I agree with the first clause in your sentence. Should we optimize TMX? Absolutely. Let's increase the volumes that go through the Trans Mountain Pipeline up to 1 million. Let's do it yesterday. But that still won't be enough. We have the capacity to pipe 2 or 3 million additional barrels of oil to overseas markets. So let's do all of it. And, you know, I find it a little bit strange that TMX, which is still controlled by the government, is trying to shut out competition. And I don't know, I hope this is not a signal that Mark Carney is sending to the pipeline company the federal government controls, that they want to block competitors from also having pipelines. Remember, the TMX CEO has an interest in this, because if there are no other pipelines built, he can charge higher fees on the oil that goes through his pipe. So let's not pretend that he is just an objective commentator on this. We need more pipes. We need a pipe that goes from Hardisty to the Pacific, either in Kitimat or in Prince Rupert. We need a pipe that should go all the way to St. John, New Brunswick. We should have a pipe that goes to Churchill. We should have all of the above, because we have more than enough oil to reach all of the markets of the world. While the Americans have doubled their oil production in the last 10 years, ours has been flat.
That's right. Ours has been flat. America's has like doubled. That's why they're making the money. That's why they're making the big bucks. But anyway, Pierre Poilievre has always talked about unleashing our energy. He's always talked about getting rid of Bill C-69. Why? Because it's for the better of all Canadians. I don't understand why people don't get that, or they don't want to get it, or they don't understand it. It's common sense. But instead, you have liberals spending money like drunken sailors. So here is Franco Terrazzano. He's from the Taxpayers Federation here in Canada. And this is what he had to say in regards to liberals spending more money. Listen.
Actually don't know what Carney is going to do with spending, right? We don't know what he's going to do with the bureaucracy. We haven't seen a budget yet. However, the Carney government should be cutting the size and growth of the bureaucracy, right? Like, the federal bureaucracy is so bloated, it costs you way too much money. I mean, look, the federal government added 99,000 extra bureaucrats since 2016. You're paying for 99,000 extra federal paper pushers, and the cost of the bureaucracy has gone up 77%.
Unbelievable, right? Unbelievable. But people voted for this liberal government because it was elbows up, right? That Carney was the man. Carney's not the man. He's proven that with his actions. Pierre Poilievre has just explained that to you in a couple different videos I just showed you. Pierre Poilievre is not the man. He lied to people. He put fear into people so they would vote for him thinking that he was the man. But his action shows that he's not the man. Unfortunately, what transpired with Pierre Poilievre in his own riding, because they increased his riding and he lost his own riding that he held for the last, 15 or 20 years. And then he had to go to Alberta. Anyway, here's another clip in regards to liberal corruption.
Is what corruption looks like, and now he's in charge of all our money. So meet Francois Philippe Champagne, the guy who ran the so-called Green Slush Fund that gave $400 million to liberal friends and insiders, doling out money to projects that didn't even qualify and breaking all sorts of rules along the way. Conflict of interest, no oversight. And when the Conservatives started asking questions,
why is this minister and his boss, the Prime Minister, covering up this scandal and waste of Canadian tax dollars?
Liberals shut down Parliament for months rather than hand over the documents. So what happens now? Our newly unelected Prime Minister, Mark Carney, just promoted this guy as Finance Minister. Champagne's now in charge of all of Canada's money. Would you trust this guy with your wallet?
No, I would not, because I've watched him in the House of Commons and the guy was a joke. The reason why the polls showed the other day, this was just released just the other day, between the August 15th and August 19th, the Abacus poll shows that the Ontario PCs are just leapt ahead of Liberals, right? 53% compared to 27%. And that was a change, of course, from July 15th. So basically in a month, they just went gangbusters ahead of the Liberals. Why? Leave it in the comments. Let me know. Drop them in the comments. Let me know below what you think. What I think has happened is because Carney's dropped the ball. He showed the Canadian people that he is not the man. Not the man for this job. And That's just the way it is. Just the way it is. He fooled everyone, and now everyone's been fooled. Let's get back into the House in September, and Pierre Poilievre can start asking the tough questions and get things back in line, and hopefully maybe they'll have another non-confidence vote and get this guy out, get the PCs in, open up our economy, get the LNG going, get the oil going, get our economy booming. All right. So that's it for today's podcast, everybody. I just went over 30 some odd minutes. That's enough for today. I always like to finish off my podcast with saying, hey, thanks for subscribing. Don't forget to like and share the channel because it helps with the algorithm with YouTube. Very important. That's the way YouTube works. And sharing it, subscribing it, liking it goes a long, long way. All right. I also like to finish off my podcast with this last little message about life. I always tell people that life is tough. Life is very tough. No one said it was going to be easy. But you have to do one thing. Everyone has to do that one thing when you're going through a tough time. That's keep moving forward. Don't look back. Look ahead. Move forward. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. And today is the present. That's why they call it a gift. So until next time, everyone, have yourself a great day. Try to make a difference in someone else's life. Cheers.